all you gorgeous souls out there. I wanted to come in and share this really cool but simple technique that I use for my own self whenever I have like fears or doubts that come in. So I am going to quickly share this across to my other pages. So when you jump on, just say hi and let me know where you're tuning in from while I quickly get this done. Hey Tracy, how are you, hon? So the reason I wanted to do this video was because, as I mentioned, this is a technique that I use my own self because it's really important to understand that when you're out there, you're trying to achieve your goals or dreams, or even just simply wanting to achieve a more equilibrium within your thoughts, emotions, and feelings so that you're not on this emotional roller coaster all the time. It's really important to have some really cool, simple techniques that you can do immediately when you find that you're out of balance. Because when you're out of balance, like say you've got fears or doubts entering into your consciousness, that becomes the energy vortex that motivates any of the actions or any of the next thoughts that you do. And that can also be the driving force behind the energy of the actions that you're taking. And if you've got fear-based thoughts, the last thing when you're doing an action step or doing anything is that to be dialed into the energy frequency of your fears, because that means that you're not really showing up. You're not really being present. Everything is derived and focused primarily around that fear. Even if it's a positive action step, that positive action step will now be tainted by those fear-based thoughts. And as I mentioned, it's so unrealistic to think, well, it's more that it's an illusion to think that fears and doubts are never going to come up. They're always going to, but it's a matter of how do you work with them and continue along the pathway that you're going. So this was a really simple, easy, cool technique that I love doing that really allows you to honor those thoughts, fears, and doubts, or any anxiety, or whatever it is, the language that you use for that, to be able to really honor them. Because the last thing that you want to do is get into an emotional fight within your own self around the things that are coming up. Hey, Erica, how are you, honey? Or to get into an ego-based flow where you're like, frig this, I'm sick and tired of these things happening, and let your ego be the driving force for the actions, because you don't generate the outcome and the results that you want. It usually ends up backfiring, or you don't feel good about your own self because you haven't gone about it from the intention from where or what you want. Hey Vanessa, how are you, honey? So it's really important that when you have these fears, doubts, or anxieties come up, that we don't fall into that space of being led by ego or driven by your fears, but we still want to be able to honor them. So because they're coming into your awareness to be validated. And sometimes the simplicity is to be able to just honor them. Hey, Joe. And so this technique is about honoring these things that are coming up with you, giving them space to hold a valid space within you, because they have come up, because fears and doubts and anxieties can come up when we reach a threshold where we're breaking through something. So we want to be able to honor them, because they can be a driving force that increases more strength and more confidence, and allows you to really dive deeper into the passions behind the goals and dreams that you want to achieve, or even just that mental emotional state that you want to be. Because when I say goals or dreams or desires, that has a huge array. That could be dreams you're chasing. So, you know, you want to be able to have success in your business, or success with, you know, a new belief or a new action step that you're taking, or a new attitude or a behavior. So there's this huge encompassments that I put that under. Hi, Shell and Kim and Vanessa. How are you? All gorgeous. So as I mentioned, I woke up this morning and I was feeling a little bit rattled, and I'm like, what is going on? And then, like, when I was going throughout my morning, I had all these fears and doubts and stuff coming up, and I'm like, this is not how I want to feel today. I've been working on some really cool content, and I didn't want that to be the energy that came through in the work that I was doing. So I was like, what can I do to immediately release those fears and doubts, and then tune and dial my energy into the success of the things that I'm working on and the success of how I want to show up when I am working, or just show up in general. So this is why I have been pretty deep in content creation today, but I was really adamant that I wanted to come in and share this technique with you today. So this technique is so simple, but just because things are simple, don't underestimate the potency of what sits behind the simplicity. Sometimes the best way to get your desired result that you want is through the simplicity. Okay, so hey Krista, how are you, gorgeous? So this is like a technique. It's like a meditation, if you will. So it can go for as long as what you want, or it can go for as short as what you want. The length of time in which you do this technique doesn't mean that you're going to get a better result. Okay, so I want you to be really, really clear on that. So the first thing to do when dialing into that success that I was talking about is, this is what I call a balloon meditation technique. Okay, so what you want to do is just do whatever it is that you do to get yourself into that deep relaxed state. So for myself, it's I close my eyes, I focus on my breath, and I start neutralizing those stress, anxiety feels, or because that shows up in your breath because you start shallow breathing. So just concentrate on counting in the breath. So always count in 1, 2, hold, breathe out, 1, 2. And I do that, you know, anywhere between 5 and 10 times. And then after I've done those about 4 or 5 breaths, I can really start to feel the tension leaving my body. Then this is where the really cool shit is. Okay, so for every fear, I want you to become very specific about them. So I want you to see that you're holding a balloon, and inside of that balloon is a fear, a doubt, or an anxiety, and just choose one. And inside of that balloon, I want you to put in all of your thoughts around how is that fear affecting you. So just as an example, like just say, for example, I'll use what I used this morning. So one of the fears that was coming up was just feeling that low vibration and how that was affecting me. So I was putting in like not enjoy, like resisting the intuitive messages that come through when there is that low vibration. So putting that resistance in there, how was it making me feel? How was it affecting me? What was coming up around that resistance with that low energy? And when I found that I had expressed everything that I thought about that resistance, then I would pass that balloon to the higher version of myself, like my soul self. I'll pass that balloon to my soul self. Then I would hold another balloon, and then I'd put in another fear, another doubt, and then go through that same process of being able to share, how is it making me feel? How is it affecting me? Never going in to explain why. It's not important why you feel this way, because if you move into the space of going, why do I feel this way? You naturally start to spiral downwards. All you want to do is validate how that emotion is affecting you, and how is it playing out in your world. So as I said, with that low resistance, it was like, well, using that first example was like making me want to use that masculine space, denying those thoughts, or trying to not validate them. So I would just go through everything that comes up around that, and then I'd hand the next balloon over, and you just keep handing over the balloons to your soul self until you find that there are no more balloons, that's what's really cool. And it doesn't make any difference how many balloons you have. All you're doing is about giving yourself to be able to honor these fears, these doubts, these anxiousness, these things that are taking you outside of the frequency of you being able to show up at the most authentic, amazing self. And the most authentic part is being able to honor how you think and feel, because if you discount them or try and dismiss them, that's when your energy frequency starts showing up that becomes dialed into the frequency of those fears, doubts, and anxiety. And what we want is that any action, any thoughts, any emotional states that come from doing this technique afterwards is then coming from a space of being aligned energy rather than fragmented through fears and doubts. Hey Leah, how are you, honey? So when you've handed over all of those balloons to your soulful self, it's really important then to just take a moment to just bring your energy back in. Just take a couple of deep breaths, because it can be sometimes quite confronting to really honor and give yourself permission to voice these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are coming up for you. So once you've given all those balloons, just take a couple of moments to just take a couple of deep breaths. And then when you feel ready, stand beside your soul self and together release the balloons. What that does is about having that visual and energetic connection that you are with your most trusted source, which is your soul. And you are handing those over with your human self and your soulful self, and you're releasing them to the universe, to that divine source of vibration, for it to be cleared, resolved, and dissolved all at the same time. So together you just hold those balloons and you just release them and watch them go. And it's that visual representation of releasing them that you're giving yourself permission to let go of all that stress that you were feeling because of being deeply connected to those thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Then what I do afterwards is then I just go in and I thank my soul, I thank the universe, and I thank my own self for showing up and giving myself permission to go through this technique, to let things go, but also too from a space of being empowered that I've got choices. You don't need to stay in these spaces that keep you feeling, hey Helen, how are you, that keep you feeling disempowered. So that thanks is giving space to honor the fact that you're aware that these things are happening, but you have powerful choices that will allow you to step into your power, to take your personal power back, to be able to own those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but choose different options that generate a different energetic frequency within you. Because remember, your energy, how you show up shows up through your energy. So if your energy is showing up that's got tainted by fears, doubts, and anxiety, that's going to come through in the words that you speak, the actions that you take, how you communicate within your own self. And therefore it leaves you so trapped in those fears and doubts that it actually eliminates you from being able to tap into that intuitive version of yourself. So by releasing those balloons that have got those fears and doubts, what that's doing is creating space, because you're releasing those emotions that are storing space in your energetic frequency, and you're releasing them, creating more space for you to be able to tune into your intuition, to be able to see different options and possibilities, for you to see the signs and synchronicities, for you to see the magic that's out there, but just be available for any amazing things that align with the success that you want to be able to achieve. So as I mentioned, this is a really simple technique, but it is so cool. It's a lot of fun, and it's about allowing you to have those, what I call truthful soul chats with self, to honor these things that are coming up, rather than repelling them, rather than trying to push them away or dismissing that they're there, or trying to overthink about why these fears are coming up, how it's affecting you, getting angry, getting frustrated. It eliminates all of that and allows you to come from a place of being deeply connected with your soulful self, with that human version of self, and being able to do really fun techniques and meditations that allow you to honor all that you are. And all of who you are does encompass fears, doubts, and anxiety. They are natural parts of progression that can give you those breakthrough moments to deeply connect into courage, inner strength, increased levels of worthiness and valuing yourself. Because when you know within yourself that you are worthy to receive amazing things into your world, you don't want that level of worthiness or your worthiness to show up with fear hiding in the background, because that's what will happen. Your energy vortex, for me, I sort of see it like a big cone. You can have all the cool stuff at the top, but the underneath driving force will be those fears. So when you release those balloons, releasing those fears, your cone then becomes the vortex of energy that allows you to be aligned with your authentic self, and allows you to be able to shine, and allows any tasks, any actions, any thoughts and emotions after you've done that technique to be all aligned, rather than scattered and separate different places. So therefore you feel like a much more an empowered version of yourself, and it starts to show up in your work. I mean, after I did that meditation today, the amount of freaking signs that I've had come up through the animal kingdom has been freaking huge, between dragonflies, it had this little green tree frog, what is it, a hornet or a wasp, butterflies. They've just been coming rampant after I'd done this exercise. And that's all those beautiful, that's how the universe then sends you back those messages of saying those balloons have been taken care of. Here is these beautiful signs that you'll take, you know, frogs are a representation of taking leap forwards. I don't usually divulge. I don't usually divulge a lot about that softer, more vulnerable side of myself. But when I did go through this meditation, there was like little tears that came, which is, I'm not really a teary person, which then again showed up through the dragonfly that came up, which was the tears were about honoring how I was thinking and how I was feeling, but also that tears of joy of I did something constructive to break those patterns of staying stuck in those shitty fears, doubts, and anxious energy. And then, you know, wasps are about, you know, wasps are about taking that sting out of those fears and doubts and disabling them, and butterflies are about transformation. So, you know, when you do these types of techniques, because you are doing the inner work, your soul is working with you with the balloons, and then when you've released them to the universe then comes back in and gives you these amazing radiant signs to say, thank you, we have taken care of these fears and doubts and anxiousness, and your energy is beautifully cleared and channeled, and you are now tapped into that universal consciousness, and we're going to bring that into your awareness to say, good on you. You are doing freaking amazing. So this is where we start to see that we are actually working with our cosmic team, being your soul, you, and the universe, and all of everything is working in alignment. These are how the way in which they show up for you. So I find this such an incredibly empowering but powerful technique to do. It's simple, it's fun, it allows you to honor your thoughts and feelings, which is that human part of yourself, but bring in that higher level of consciousness, which is your soul and the universe, to work cohesively with you, because they understand that you have a soul contract, that you have blueprint, you have a blueprint of your soul's journey, and everything is brought into your lifetime for a lesson and for a reason. And when you can understand that, and when you can not so much understand it, but see how things are working for you and for what reason. So for me, my lesson was, I've got these cool spiritual tool techniques, I can use them, or I can stay trapped in that shitty space. My lesson is, you're so much more powerful than what you are. And then the next page and next lesson was about dialing into that inner strength within your own self, that you have got choices. That's that human part within yourself. You have free will on how you choose to experience this, and you can work cohesively with your with your cosmic team, or you can do this on your own and fight and force and do things the hard way, and it doesn't need to be this way. So I think this is, and you can have fun while doing it. As I said, this technique is a lot of fun. I don't think when you have to do spiritual stuff, do they always have to be delving into the depths of your soul and feeling like that it's exhausting. This is about just being present in the current moment of what's occurring for you in that moment, but choosing different options. So I think this is something that I really wanted to share with you all to see, and I'd love to hear, like, if you, when you do go through and use this technique, what comes up for you? What kind of signs and synchronicities, what types of soulful messages come up for you when you have created that beautiful space to then be able to dial into your intuition? Because once I'd done that, it was like boom, boom, boom. There was just information coming left, right, and center, because you're not trapped in your thoughts. You're not trapped in the thoughts that are deeply connected to your emotion. You've now become this beautiful open vessel to have that direct communication with your soul coming through your intuition and the universe. So it's just the most freaking wicked shit to do. I love that you keep seeing dragonflies, Lorraine. That is so very, very cool. I just did a post about a dragonfly that I've seen today, and not to get completely off task, but for anyone that didn't see that post, you can go on and see that post on how, as I mentioned, they are signs coming from the universe, and what the message is, and what is the lesson and the soulful guidance that comes through these beautiful signs that show up. So I gave 3 awesome questions that connect in with the message of dragonflies, that you can then, if you own a deck of oracle cards, you can jump in, pull your oracle cards out, go through those 3 questions and see what comes up for you if you feel connected to that message. So I really hope that each and every one of you goes through and oh yes, and the last thing that I did, I forgot. See, I get distracted, and luckily I take notes, or else sometimes I can get so get caught up that I forget to share a really important piece of information that once I've gone through and released the balloons, then what the last step was, what I did was that I have a vision. I'm working on some cool content stuff. So I have this vision. I have this vision that resonates so deeply with my soul. And for me, part of when I had these fears and doubts and stuff came through, made me get pretty pissed off. I won't lie. I got a little bit angry because I'm like, I don't need this shit showing up in my world right now, because I really want to stay focused on the direction that I'm going, and I don't want to get derailed. So inside, obviously, one of the balloons was anger, and being able to discuss that. So once I had released all of that, then it's really important to sit back in that space, and you've created that gorgeous vortex of being aligned back within your mind, body, soul, and spirit, to be able to then, if you have a vision about the things that you're working towards. Now, as I said, every single person has a different vision, and no one's vision is more important than another. Just stay dialed into what's important for you. So I just sat in that space of what was my vision again, and I allowed all my senses to get really, really activated. So, you know, seeing the vision, hearing what the things that I would say to myself, feeling deeply connected with them, and that just that knowingness of knowing that I'm exactly on the right track and that I've got this, I can do this. So feeling deeply connected to that energy frequency of my vision. So therefore, again, that energy becomes imprinted, that vision becomes so downloaded into my, or uploaded into my energy frequency, so that therefore that becomes the energy for any of the action steps, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that show up after I've done the exercise. And I just sit in that space for a couple of moments until I feel really, really nourished by my vision and feel really filled up on a whole energy level, that all my energy is vibing towards the direction that I want to go in. And then I open my eyes and come out, and then I usually take about 5 or 10 minutes afterwards to just really sit in that juiciness of feeling into and believing into the vision of my dreams. So that's the last step. So I'll quickly go through, just in case you got a little bit distracted like I did. So the first step is just do whatever. So this is a balloon meditation technique. It's there to release the fears, doubts, and anxieties that could be showing up for you. So the first step is just do whatever it takes to get you into that relaxed, receptive state of being in meditation. Now for me, that's close my eyes and take deep breaths, count through the breaths, and feel the tension and stress leave from my body, and feeling that my mind and my body are connected as one. So I'm thinking and feeling, not just only using one of those aspects of self. Then the third step was to then be able to choose one fear at one time, put that fear, doubt, or anxiety, or whatever emotional state that's coming up for you, put it inside of a balloon, and inside of that balloon put in how that emotion is affecting you, what is showing up for you around that emotion, or just everything that has been brought into your awareness around that emotional, fear-based, anxious, doubtful thing. Then hand that to your soulful self. Go through as many balloons as you have. Don't worry about how many freaking balloons there are. There is no judgment here. And that's really important to remember when you do this. Don't judge yourself about what's going on. Then the fourth step is to align with your soulful self and release the balloons to the universe, and then go through and give thanks to the human part, that soulful self, and the universe as working with your cosmic team together. And then the fifth step is about aligning your energy. So aligning it back into the vision that you have, and sitting in that deep space of being so deeply connected to your vision that you can see, hear, feel, and know it, and believe it to be true now, and let that fill up your energy vortex. And then afterwards, obviously, just allow yourself to just sit in that space. I'm so pleased that this is exactly what you needed to hear, Krista. Look, as I said, this was something that is really, really powerful. I found it allowed me to stay really aligned, back in flow, but allowed me to also work from that feminine space, because as I said, when these things are coming up this morning, the first thing that was activated was that masculine of push, shove, force, get in my face, all that kind of really, you know, unproductive aspects of self. And I knew that was not how I wanted to show up. So I'm really pleased that this is now working for you. So just go through these steps. And when you've done that, if you want to come back in and leave a comment afterward about what came up for you, how you felt when you had finished doing this exercise, please feel free, if you want to be able to share that, or even if you want to send me a private message, that's cool. But go have some fun, and remember that all of these things do come up. They're just a part of your journey. And remembering that, most importantly, that you have a soul blueprint. So this is part of your journey. The number one thing to understand, though, is you don't have to stay stuck or trapped in that place. There are freaking amazing resources that you can do to move forward from them in that awesome, divine flow, aligned, gorgeous energy that makes you feel like you feel amazing, because you are using the right energy in which to be able to clear them. You're using the right energy frequency or the right energy archetype to motivate and inspire you. You're using the right energy frequency to be able to stay deeply connected to your soulful self. So everything about this exercise is honoring, validating, honoring and validating, and breaking through those illusions of thinking that you have to use old patterns, repeat old cycles, or stay just simply stuck and trapped. Because when you have thoughts that are activated by fears, doubts and anxiousness, all that's going to do is keep you trapped inside your head. And I can tell you now, women, you are freaking amazing, amazing, powerful beings, but we are also very, very self-destructive if we get stuck in our head, because women's driving force is intuition. So if we're stuck, trapped in our head, we haven't got that available space to stay deeply connected to the most aligned energy frequency, which is the feminine archetype energy. So there is just so many wins, ticks. That's all about alignment, flow, and honoring the gorgeous feminine divine being that you are, but from a powerful place within our own self. And that's what we're doing through using this technique, is to create available space so that you can stay dialed in vibration energetically to your own version of success for you. And being able to do that from a place that is truthful and honoring that human part within your own self and working closely with your cosmic team. So I'd love to hear how each and every one of you, when you've done this, if you want to be able to connect back in, please do so. If you know of anyone else though that may be possibly potentially suffering at this same point, because that's what it feels like if you're stuck in your head, trapped in your thoughts around fears, doubts and anxieties. You feel trapped and stuck. And if you know of anyone that is possibly feeling that way, tag them or share this in them, because the more that we share this knowledge, the more people that we can help, one person at a time. And before we know it, on a huge collective scale, we get to help many, to empower each and every one of us. So much love to you. It's Friday here, so I hope everyone has a wicked weekend, and much love and take care. And remember, you are much more than what you think you are. Tuning into the most trusted source, being your soul, and the universe, which is your cosmic team, the three of them. The best way to get the results is working with all three of these amazing attributes that are here designed to help you in every single step. You can either choose to work cohesively with them or resist that amazing guidance and support network that's available to you and make shit hard, but it doesn't need to be that way anymore. So take care, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me.